No. All right. Okay. For 4A and B, we're going to do both of them together. So we're going to do some GCF factoring and star method.
Greatest common factor?
Yeah, greatest common factor, exactly. I don't like this stylus. Let me see if I have a different one. Maybe this one will work. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, let's talk about GCF. Ew, that was gross. Let's write that again. GCF. Now, greatest common factor is where you want to start every single time, okay? This is what you want to do first. Now, sometimes there will be a greatest common factor that you can factor out, and sometimes there won't. But you want to look for that first. You want to try that, okay? So let me show you what GCF factoring out the greatest common factor is. Number 1. Suppose you have 8x squared plus 16x, okay? And all we have to do is we need to factor this, okay? So to factor out the greatest common factor, you look at each term. There could be more than 2, like 3 or 4, and you want to see if they all have a common factor. So this one does. So I'm looking at 8x squared and 16x, and between 8 and 16, I can go ahead and factor out an 8. Because 8 divides into, it's the biggest number, greatest common factor. They both share 2, and they both share 4, but are those the greatest? No. The greatest is 8. And then they also have an x in common. So I'm going to factor that out. And so factoring out the GCF is the opposite of distributing, right? Instead of multiplying in, I'm dividing it out. So I end up getting x plus 2. Perfect. That's it. Okay? Do you remember doing this in Algebra 1 a little bit? So that's your first step, though. You always want to see if you can factor out something in common first. So let's do, another one, number 2. Let's go with 12a squared b plus 16a cubed b minus 4b. Whew, that's a good one. All right, so now this one has 3 terms. So we need to look at all 3 terms and say what we can factor out, what their factors are of all 3 of them that they share. So first start with the number. I've got 12, 16, and 4. So what can I factor out? Yeah, 4. Perfect. Okay, now let's look at the variables. I have an a squared and a cubed, but no a there. So you can't factor out any a's at all, okay? But they all share a b. So let's factor out 4b from all 3 terms. So here we go. What you're doing is you're dividing out, okay? So here I end up with 3a squared. Here I'm dividing out a 4b, so I'm left with a 4a cubed. And then the last one, this is tricky because some people, bless you, they think that there's nothing left. But we're dividing. What's 4b divided by 4b? We get a minus 1. Yeah?
Where'd you get 3a squared?
So we divided 12 by 4, and then also b. The b came out too. And if you want to check your answer, like in your head, you could think about, like, what would happen if I were to multiply, distribute this in? Would I get 12a squared b 16? Yeah, you would, right? You can think about that, okay? But make sure that if you do factor out the entire factor, you don't leave it as 0. That's actually a 1. Factor it out. Okay, so that's GCF, and that's going to be our first step when we do these problems. So now let's go ahead and let's learn how to do star method. We're going to do the easy star method first. Okay, star method. And for these problems, these next problems I'm going to do, I personally would not use the star method just because they're a little easier because the number out front is going to be 1. So, all right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a quadratic ax squared plus bx plus c, and we are going to factor this into 2 binomials. It's the opposite of FOILing, okay? And the way that we do this is I use something called star method. I never taught star method until about, 8 years ago or so. I had a student who emailed it to me. She saw it on YouTube or she saw it in one of her classes or something. And it's called the Kimmel asterisk method, but I don't like the word asterisk. I can't even spell it. So I changed to star method because I thought that was easier. And this is what you do. You're going to take the number out front and the number in the back, and you're going to multiply that and put it up top in your star. Okay? On the bottom, you're going to put B. B right here. And then you're going to ask yourself, what times what multiplies to give me the number on top and adds to give me the number on bottom? Like, for example, what times what multiplies to 12 and adds up to 7? 3 and 4. Perfect. Okay? And then you would write those. Oh, I'm sorry. I put question marks right here. This should be A and A. The question marks are here. And then what happens is you're going to get something here that's a fraction and something there that we're going to write into our binomials. Okay? And I'll show you how to do that part because I can't really write it with letters right now. But that's the setup. Up top, on the bottom, A goes here and here, and then we're going to figure it out. So let's go ahead. We're going to do one right now. Yeah?
So you're adding on the bottom.
What times what adds to get the bottom number? Exactly.
Wait. Times what?
Multiplies to give you the top number and adds to give you the bottom. All right, so let's do it. Number 3. Let's do, this one. X squared plus 10x plus 24. What we're going to do is we are going to factor. Okay, that's what we're doing today, all week long. Factor. And so if you want to, some of you can just straight factor that into 2 binomials and you're done, like that. I can do that too. That's the way I learned it when I was a kid, and I hated these. But now we have this star method that we can use, and it kind of organizes your numbers, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take A times C, so 1 times 24, and you're going to write that number up top. Okay. On the bottom, you're going to put B for bottom, that's 10. And then I'm going to put a 1 here and a 1 there because that's what A is. Whatever A is going to go here and here. And then you ask yourself, hey self, what times what multiplies to give me 24 and adds to give me 10? 1, 6. Ooh, nice. Now, if you struggle with this part, well, all you have to do is write down your multiples of 24. Like, what times what's 24? 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8. This one has a lot, right? 4 times 6. And then you go, wait a minute. That adds up to 10. Okay? So I'm going to put a 4 here and a 6 there. And it doesn't matter which way. 6 and 4, 4 and 6. And then what we do is we're going to take our binomials. And it's this number up top is going to be the number in front of x. So it's going to be x plus 4. And this will be x plus 6. You don't need to write the 1 there. Okay? And if I were to FOIL that out, it will equal that quadratic. Yep. Question?
How'd you get 1 and 1 on top?
Oh, that's A. See? A goes there.
Oh.
Yep. So when that number out front is not 1, it'll be whatever that is. Like if it's 2x squared, it'll be a 2. Now, some of you guys, you're pretty good at these, right? You can go ahead and just straight factor. When I was your age, it was factoring. We called it guess and check. We did it until we got it right. And it was kind of annoying. But yeah, especially when you have a number out front of the x squared, then that gets really kind of tricky. All right, let's try number 4. Here we go. Let's do this one. X squared minus 14x plus 33. Okay, the star helps you to organize your numbers and figure out a plan here. So draw the star and then put everything in the right spot. So A times C, 33 up top, negative 14 on the bottom, and then A is 1 and A is 1. So that's the star setup. And now you have to think about what times what is 33 that adds up to negative 14. Now take a look. If I'm going to multiply to get a positive, but then add those numbers to get a negative, that means both of these down here are going to have to be negative, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. So what are my factors of 33? This one's not too bad. 11 and 3. Perfect. So a negative 11 times a negative 3 equals positive 33, and they add up to negative 14. And so I write them in their binomials as 1x minus 11. I don't need to write the 1, though. And then x minus 3. That's it. All right, so let's do this one now. Number 5. We do assign quite a few of these because you need the practice. You really do. Actually, we shortened it a little bit because it was like over 30 problems. We're like, it's a bit much. All right, how about this one? X squared plus 3x minus 10. Okay? Star method. Here we go. We're going to go 1 times negative 10 up top is negative 10. 3 on the bottom, 1 there, 1 there. And then I say, what times what is negative 10? That's going to add up to 3. Okay, some of you guys are going to be super fast at this because you know your multiplication tables really well, and you learned that when you were in like 4th grade. If you're struggling on these, you can do like 1 times 10, 2 times 5. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Perfect. Positive 5 and negative 2. And it doesn't matter what order that's in, but it does matter which one's negative. What if I said negative 5 and positive 2? Does that add up to positive 3? No. So you have to be careful where you place the negative, okay? And then when you write your answer, it's x plus 5 and x minus 2. And you could write that the other way too, okay? Or you could say x minus 2 and x plus 5, but don't get the minus and the plus mixed up because that would be wrong. All right, you want to try one now? Sure you do. Number 6.
It sounded like a video game.
Yeah? You want to try one now? Like Mickey Mouse, he always asks questions. Do you want to come inside my clubhouse? And I'm like, no. Well, all right. Like, what? I said no. All right, you try this one. This one's pretty easy, pretty basic. You got this. Let's do it. All right, draw your star if you need to. Negative 5 times 1 up top, 4 on the bottom, 1 and 1. What times what's negative 5 adds up to 4 would be a positive 5 and a negative 1. So I would write this as x plus 5 times x minus 1. Or the other way around. X minus 1 times x plus 5. Yes? You're good? Okay, now I'm going to add on a step here. So let's look at number 7. Number 7, let's say I have 2x squared, and you're like, oh no, we haven't had a number out front, plus 24x plus 64. Okay. Now, do you remember at the beginning of the lesson I said you have to look for a GCF? None of these had a GCF yet, which is why I wasn't really looking for it. But you need to look for a GCF. And if there is a greatest common factor between all 3 of your terms, you got to factor it out, okay? Before you do star method. So all of them have a common factor. What is that factor? 2. The last one doesn't have an x, so you can't factor out a 2x, but you can factor out a 2 from everybody. So when you factor out a 2, you're dividing 2 out of all the different terms, all 3 of them. So I get x squared plus 12x plus 32. Now some people will stop and go, okay, cool, I factored, I'm done. No. You can keep going. See this inside part? That's factorable too. So you need to look for that. So now we're going to ignore that 2 that's sitting outside, and we're going to do the star method with the inside stuff. Okay? But you're going to need to include 2 as part of your answer at the end, though. So 1 times 32 is 32, 12 on the bottom with a 1 and a 1. Okay, we're just looking at the inside the parentheses. So what times what's 32 adds up to 12? Ooh, yes, 8 and 4, 4 and 8. 32 had a lot of factors. It does. But 8 and 4 is the only one that's going to add up to 12. And so here's my answer. Include that 2 out front. And then write your factors as, 1x plus 8, or just x plus 8, and x plus 4. Okay? And if you forgot that 2, take a look. Let's say I forget that 2. If I were to FOIL this out, there's no way that it would equal 2x squared. X times x is x squared. Where's that 2? Well, it's right there. Yeah. No, you're good? Okay, one more of these, then we'll get to the hard ones. This last one, it's a little tricky. You're going to have something like this in your homework. I want you to be aware. If you have a negative x squared term, negative x squared minus x plus 20. The best thing to do here would be to factor out a negative 1. Okay? You don't want your x squared term to ever be negative. So the way to get around that is to factor out a negative 1 to the front. So if I factor out a negative from everybody, it just means all of these 3 terms are just going to switch signs. So the negative x squared is x squared, negative x is positive x, and negative 20 now. And then you're just going to leave that negative 1 out front, and you're going to do star method with the inside of the parentheses stuff. Okay? So it's 1 times negative 20 up top, which is negative 20. What's b here? B is positive 1. And then a is also 1. What happened? Yeah, you got it? Okay, and then what times what's negative 20 that adds up to 1? If you have trouble thinking of this, some of you guys, oh, you're so quick. You want to say it. You're so fast at these. If you ever get stuck, just go through their multiples. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Oh, there it is. 4 times 5. So I'm going to need, hold on, a negative 4 and a positive 5. Yeah.
Why is it 1 on the bottom and not negative 1?
Because it's positive x. I factored the negative 1 out to the front, which changed it from a negative to a positive.
Oh, so you have to do that?
Yes. I'm factoring just the inside of this, leaving this negative 1 on the outside.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's go ahead. We've got x minus 4 and x plus 5. And then don't forget to include that negative 1 that you factored out earlier. Okay? All right, now let's do the last part. So we did GCF, we did star factoring, and now let's do star factoring where a is not going to be simple anymore. A is not going to be 1, okay? And it's not going to factor out either. All right, what number? Number 9. Here we go. So I'm going to show you a quick little video, and go. We're going to do 4x squared plus 7x plus 3. Okay. Now these aren't the simple ones. It just factors x plus 3x plus 1 or something. You can't do that here. So you're going to do your star method again. It's the same as what we've been doing all along. I always give you like the same exact way to do it. 4 times 3 goes up top. 7 goes in the bottom. And then 4 goes here and there. Okay? You got the setup okay? A times C up top, B bottom, A and A. Now, what times what's 12 adds up to 7? 4 and 3. Perfect. Okay, let's look at our fractions here. 4 over 4 can reduce to 1 over 1. You always want to keep it as a fraction. 4 over 4 reduces to 1 over 1. And 4 over 3 does not reduce at all. And so here we go. We're going to write our binomials, and we're going to make our 1x plus 1, or just x plus 1. And then this 4 goes in front of the x plus 3. And that would be it. You want to try one? Yeah. Good. All right, try this one. Number 10. Let's go with, ooh, I'm going to give you a hard one. 3x squared minus 16x minus 12. Okay, there is no greatest common factor in this one, so if you were like, oh, okay. But we are going to look for that. I'll give you one that will have a greatest common factor. But this one does not. 3 can't go into 16. So go ahead and try this one on your own.
On my money that I saved for college.
Oh, good. I think you should win it. All right, 3 times 12, we get negative 36 up top with a negative 16 on the bottom and a 3 and a 3. So maybe
it's always the same thing.
Always. Always A. Yep, A goes there and there. All right, so what times what's negative 36 adds up to negative 16? Did you get this one? Negative what?
18 and 2.
Ooh, yes, negative 18 and positive 2. Yeah. That one was tough because you're thinking 9 and 4, no. 3 and 12, no. 2 and negative 18. Okay, so I'm going to put, bless you, a negative 18 there and a positive 2 there. If you notice, 3 over 2 does not reduce, but 3 over negative 18 does. It reduces to 1 over negative 6. Keep the negative on the bottom. So I get x minus 6 times 3x plus 2. Who got that? You did? Good, good. See, and it's the same pattern every time. You just do it that way. Now let me do number 11 with you because this one has an extra step here. So 4x squared.
Is this the last one?
Yeah. Plus 14x minus 18. Now we're very tempted, especially when we know how to do something. We're like, okay, same thing every time. And we go, oh, 4 times negative 18 up top. No, don't do that. There's a greatest common factor here that needs to be factored out first. 2. So you need to do that part first. And it's easy to forget that part. It really is. So then we get 2x squared plus 7x minus 9. So factor that 2 out of everything, and then just ignore it, you know? Like when your kids come home from school, just ignore them for a little while. You've had a long day. All right, so take that 2, leave it out there. We're going to go 2 times -9 up top, positive 7 on the bottom. 2 goes there and there. Okay? You do. Yes?
Is that -9 and 2?
Oh, almost.
2 and -9.
There you go. 2 and -9? No. -2 and +9.
Dang it.
There we go. Yeah, check your work. -2 plus 9 is 7. Not -7. All right, and then this reduces to 1 over -1. And 2 over 9 doesn't reduce. And so here's my answer. Do not forget that 2 that you factored out before. It needs to be included in your answer. And I get x minus 1, 2x plus 9. And I can even kind of do a quick check. Like, let's say that I forgot that 2. And this was my answer. And if I did 2x squared, that doesn't equal 4x squared. It can't. Okay? So make sure that, yes, you include that number that you factored out a while ago there. Okay.